Sandra, what's the matter?
I'm happy.
Moving into low orbit for final descent.
Breaking up! Eject! Close the rear doors! Close them!
September 13th, 1999. The day the moon was torn from Earth's orbit, carrying 311 souls aboard Moonbase Alpha into the vast unknown of space. This catastrophic premise launched viewers into one of science fiction television's most ambitious and visually striking series, Space, 1999. When Space, 1999 premiered in 1975, it arrived at a fascinating crossroads in science fiction history. The optimistic space exploration of the 1960s, embodied by the moon landing and shows like Star Trek, was giving way to a more introspective, sometimes darker vision of humanity's relationship with the cosmos. Created by Jerry and Sylvia Anderson, previously known for their puppet-based productions like Thunderbirds, Space, 1999 represented their most ambitious leap into live-action storytelling. With a then astronomical budget of over £3.25 million for its first season, Space, 1999 was the most expensive British television series of its time. This financial commitment showed in every frame, from the detailed sets of Moonbase Alpha to the meticulously crafted model work that brought space travel to life. Though it never achieved the ratings dominance its creators hoped for, the show developed a passionate following that has kept its legacy alive for decades. At its core, Space, 1999 asked a profound question that resonates even more deeply today. What happens when technology fails catastrophically and humans are forced to confront the vastness of space without the comfort of home? This isn't just a story about exploration, but about survival, adaptation, and maintaining humanity when cut adrift from Earth. It's this existential premise that elevates Space, 1999 beyond typical sci-fi adventure and into something more philosophically rich, a show willing to explore the psychological impact of isolation alongside its spectacular visual effects. Space, 1999 delivered several unforgettable sequences that showcase the series at its visual and narrative peak. The harrowing destruction sequence in Breakaway, where nuclear waste explosions literally tear the moon from Earth's orbit, remains a masterclass in tension and practical effects. Nuclear containment areas erupt in carefully choreographed explosions, while command center instruments flash warnings as personnel are thrown across rooms by the mounting gravitational distress. The Eagles desperately attempting to escape the catastrophe, with some failing and spiraling into the lunar surface, established immediately that this series would not shy away from depicting the fatal consequences of disaster in space. Another standout visual achievement appears in Dragon's Domain, where an astronaut encounters a tentacled alien entity in an abandoned spacecraft. The creature, with its hypnotic central eye and writhing tentacles, creates genuine horror as it pulls victims toward its fiery maw. The sequence combines practical effects, lighting, and sound design to create something truly nightmarish that transcends typical television science fiction of the era. This monster, defeating technology with primal terror, perfectly encapsulates the show's theme of humanity's vulnerability in space. War Games delivers perhaps the most spectacular action sequence of the series, with Moonbase Alpha under full attack from alien warships. The model work here is extraordinary. Eagle craft explode in meticulously detailed destruction. The moonbase suffers breaches with bodies being sucked out into the vacuum, and the command center gradually collapses around our main characters. The sequence conveys genuine stakes and danger through practical effects that maintain their impact decades later. Space, 1999 stands as a landmark achievement in television visual effects, particularly for its era. The series pioneered techniques that would influence science fiction for decades to come. most notably through the masterful model work of special effects director Brian Johnson, who would later contribute to films like Alien and The Empire Strikes Back. The iconic Eagle spacecraft remains one of the most realistic and functional-looking vessels in science fiction, a utilitarian transport with a believable design philosophy that suggested real engineering rather than artistic flourish. The series achieved its spectacular space sequences through meticulous practical effects. Each explosion, each planetary landscape, each alien encounter was created through a combination of miniature photography, pyrotechnics, and optical compositing. Episodes like War Games, where Moonbase Alpha comes under attack from alien forces, showcase the show's ability to create genuinely convincing space battles without any of the digital tools filmmakers take for granted today. Visually, Space, 1999 cultivated a distinct aesthetic that balanced clinical futurism with organic alien environments. The sterile white corridors and modular furniture of Moonbase Alpha reflected contemporary modernist design taken to its logical conclusion. Functional, minimalist, and deliberately lacking in comfort. This stood in stark contrast to the bizarre alien landscapes the characters would encounter, from the surreal crystal caves in The Last Sunset to the psychedelic environments of The Guardian of Piri. This visual dichotomy reinforced the show's central theme, humanity's orderly technological world versus the chaotic, incomprehensible nature of the universe. The production faced numerous challenges, not least the simulation of zero gravity and alien worlds within the constraints of a television studio. The creative team developed innovative methods to suggest weightlessness, from slow-motion filming to carefully choreographed actor movements. The large main mission set, with its sunken central area and elevated commander's office, became the show's nerve center, a location designed not just for visual impact, but to facilitate complex filming with multiple actors simultaneously. The costume design by Rudi Gernreich, an influential fashion designer of the period, created a distinctive visual identity through the characters' uniform jumpsuits. These outfits, with their zippered fronts and sleeve colors denoting departments, balanced futuristic styling with practical functionality. Perhaps most impressive was Gernreich's solution to the perennial science fiction problem of future fashion, creating designs that appeared advanced while avoiding the dated appearance that plagues many productions as years pass. The series also excelled in its audio landscape. The electronic music score by Barry Gray, Season 1, and Derek Wadsworth, Season 2, eschewed conventional orchestration for synthesizer-driven compositions that enhance the alien environments and technological setting. Sound effects were carefully crafted to suggest advanced technology while maintaining believability. The distinctive Eagle engine sound, the humming of Moonbase Alpha's systems, and the varied alien vocalizations all contributed to a coherent audio universe. Behind the scenes, Space. 1999 represented the Anderson team's most significant evolution as filmmakers. Having built their reputation on sophisticated puppet shows like Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet, Space, 1999 marked their definitive transition to live-action drama. The show's ambitious scope sometimes created tensions. The demanding shooting schedule forced practical compromises, and the Andersons' marriage and creative partnership would ultimately dissolve during the show's run, contributing to the dramatic shift between its first and second seasons. Space, 1999 assembled a cast of remarkable talent, anchored by Martin Landau in the role of Commander John Koenig. Fresh from his acclaimed work in Mission Impossible, Landau brought a compelling intensity to Koenig, portraying a leader constantly torn between scientific curiosity and the safety of his people. Koenig wasn't the flamboyant hero typical of science fiction. Instead, Landau crafted a character whose command was marked by thoughtful deliberation and occasional moral ambiguity. In episodes like Black Sun, where Koenig must make potentially suicidal decisions for the base, Landau conveys both the burden of leadership and the resilience necessary to bear it. Equally crucial to the series was Barbara Bain as Dr. Helena Russell, the base's chief medical officer. Bain, Landau's real-life spouse at the time, created in Helena a character of intellectual depth and emotional vulnerability. Their on-screen chemistry, forged through years of working together, lent authenticity to the developing relationship between Koenig and Russell. Bain excelled in episodes focusing on the psychological impacts of space travel, particularly Force of Life, where her clinical detachment gradually gives way to horror as she confronts an alien possession. The first season benefited enormously from Barry Morse's performance as Professor Victor Bergman, the scientific conscience of Moonbase Alpha. Morse portrayed Bergman with a warmth and philosophical curiosity that balanced Koenig's more pragmatic approach to crises. The professor, with his artificial heart symbolizing humanity's dependence on technology, often articulated the show's deeper questions about existence and purpose. His standout moment comes in the aforementioned Black Sun, where his contemplation of infinity as the base approaches a black hole elevates the episode to profound philosophical territory. With Morse's departure, Season 2 introduced Catherine Schell as the alien metamorph Maya, dramatically altering the show's dynamic. Maya's ability to transform into any living organism provided both narrative flexibility and impressive visual effects challenges. Schell skillfully navigated Maya's dual nature. Her extraordinary abilities contrasted with her childlike wonder at human customs. Episodes like The Rules of Luton, where Maya's powers are tested against other alien beings, showcase both Schell's versatility and the character's central importance to the revised format. The series produced numerous memorable sequences that have endured in science fiction consciousness. The destruction of Meta in the pilot episode, Breakaway, set a standard for space disaster sequences. The surreal confrontation with a cosmic intelligence in The Guardian of Piri demonstrated the show's willingness to explore psychological territory. Perhaps most powerfully, the encounter with the Black Sun created a moment of transcendent wonder rarely achieved in television science fiction, as the base passes through the phenomenon and the characters briefly commune with some higher power in the universe. In space. 1999 debuted to a curious but divided critical reception. Many reviewers praised its unprecedented visual achievements and production values, acknowledging it had raised the bar for television science fiction. However, others criticized what they perceived as slow pacing and occasionally stilted dialogue. The show found itself in the difficult position of being compared simultaneously to Star Trek's character-driven adventures and 2001, A Space Odyssey's philosophical depth, without fully satisfying fans of either approach. What many critics missed at the time, but fans quickly recognized, was the show's willingness to embrace ambiguity and psychological complexity. Episodes frequently ended without neat resolutions, alien encounters often remained partially unexplained, and the characters' understanding of cosmic phenomena was limited by their human perspective. This approach has aged remarkably well, with modern viewers appreciating the series' refusal to provide easy answers to complex questions. The most controversial aspect of Space, 1999 remains the dramatic shift between its first and second seasons. Following disappointing American ratings, producer Fred Freiberger was brought in to make the show more action-oriented and accessible. The cerebral, sometimes mystical approach of Season 1 gave way to more conventional alien encounters and danger of the weak storytelling. Professor Bergman vanished without explanation. The detailed main mission set was replaced by the smaller command center, and the addition of Maya brought shape-shifting capabilities that changed the problem-solving dynamic. This evolution created an unusual scenario where some fans strongly prefer one season over the other. Season 1 devotees appreciate its philosophical depth and genuine sense of cosmic mystery, while Season 2 advocates enjoy its faster pace and Maya's transformational abilities. This division has fueled decades of fan discussion and retrospective analysis, with modern critics increasingly recognizing the distinct merits of both approaches. As years passed, Space, 1999's reputation steadily grew through syndication, home video releases, and convention screenings. Details that viewers might have missed in initial broadcasts became subjects of fascination, like the careful attention to physics in space sequences, the recurring symbolism in alien designs, or the subtle references to contemporaneous space research. Particularly noteworthy was the series' use of nuclear waste as the trigger for the moon's ejection from orbit, reflecting 1970s environmental concerns that now seem remarkably prescient. The show also captured fascinating behind-the-scenes tensions. The episodes written by noted science fiction author Johnny Byrne often emphasized philosophical themes, while those by other writers sometimes leaned more toward conventional adventure. This creative push-pull reflected broader questions in the genre about whether science fiction should primarily entertain or provoke thought, a debate that continues in the genre today. In Space, 1999 cast a long shadow over science fiction television that extends well beyond its relatively brief run. Its influence can be seen most directly in subsequent space-based series, like Battlestar Galactica, whose original 1978 version borrowed heavily from Space, 1999's visual effects techniques, and even repurposed some of its props and models. More subtly, the realistic approach to space physics and the psychological toll of isolation found echoes in later works like Babylon 5, whose creator J. Michael Straczynski acknowledged Space, 1999 as an influence on his own space station-based drama. Perhaps most significantly, Ronald D. Moore's reimagined Battlestar Galactica, 2004 to 2009, shares remarkable thematic DNA with Space. 1999. Both series center on a group of humans cut off from Earth, facing existential threats while grappling with limited resources and the psychological pressure of potential extinction. The serious, sometimes somber tone that Space, 1999 pioneered has become a mainstay of modern science fiction television, replacing the more optimistic approach of earlier decades. The show's production design continues to influence visual science fiction. The utilitarian, believable technology of Moonbase Alpha, with its absence of unnecessary flourishes and emphasis on functionality, established a design philosophy that can be traced through films like Alien, Moon, and The Martian. The iconic Eagle transporter, with its modular design and realistic movement physics, remains one of the most respected spacecraft designs in science fiction, frequently appearing in lists of greatest fictional vehicles alongside much more recent creations. Today, Space, 1999 resonates perhaps more strongly than ever. Its central premise of environmental catastrophe resulting from human technological mismanagement speaks directly to contemporary climate concerns. The series' portrayal of a small community of survivors, forced to adapt to constantly changing circumstances, feels remarkably relevant in our era of global uncertainty. Even the show's diverse, international cast, unusual for its time, reflects aspirations for cooperation that remain vital in addressing today's challenges. What ultimately gives Space, 1999 its enduring power, is its willingness to confront the vastness of the universe and humanity's small place within it. In an age where science fiction often focuses on humanity mastering space through technology, Space, 1999 offers a humbler vision, one where human beings must acknowledge their limitations while still striving to understand the incomprehensible. As Commander Koenig and his crew encounter phenomena beyond their understanding, they maintain their humanity not through conquest, but through curiosity, compassion, and community. As we continue our own tentative steps into space exploration, sending robots to Mars and planning lunar bases that bear striking resemblances to Alpha, space. 1999's vision serves as both warning and inspiration. It reminds us that the universe is stranger and more wonderful than we can imagine, and that our technology, however advanced, will never fully protect us from its mysteries. In that humility lies the show's most powerful message, and the reason why, decades after its fictional 1999, it continues to captivate those who look up at the stars and wonder what waits beyond. What might we discover if the moon broke free tomorrow? And how would we preserve what makes us human when everything familiar is left behind?